Absolutely. So, hello, my name is Helen Jane Campbell. I'm an author and I'm also a coach for creative people. When I say that, I think everyone's creative, but what I mean by coaching creative people is a lot of my clients will either work in a creative industry or they'll have the desire to work in a creative industry. So I'm talking about actors, artists, PR agencies, just those individuals who are working with creativity in their day job as well as in their free time.
And what was it that brought you to be working with, to particularly want to specialize with creative people?
I started in the PR industry. So I worked in public relations, marketing, and similar careers for 20 years almost. And when I started working for myself, which was part of my PR career, working for myself and running my own small agency, a lot of people came to me and said, "What's it like to work for yourself? Can I have a coffee? Can I pick your brains?" And that was back in 2009. And for about 10 years or so, for free, I would support all these different freelancers and people starting agencies and founders, and they were all in similar careers. So PR, marketing, or maybe they were freelance artists, for example, designers. And I did that for 10 years. And then one day, after an entire decade, the penny dropped, and I just thought, this could be my job. I didn't know why it took me 10 years. So I retrained. I did a coaching diploma. I also wrote my book, Founders, Freelancers, and Rebels. And everything started coming together and making sense that that was actually my calling ultimately. Mhm.
That's amazing. So, what are some common things or blocks that you find that you're coaching people through, particularly maybe your queer clients around their creativity and expression and independence?
Yeah, I think for me and for a lot of my clients, community is really, really important when it comes to living a creative life. And from my own experience, I know that as a queer person, as a member of the LGBTQ plus community, it can be hard to find sometimes like-minded people who you can relax completely around because maybe there's already a shared understanding of some of what you're living through without having to constantly explain every time or be on a low level alert, uh, which maybe you don't even realize you're carrying. But when you're in a community of other queer people, you feel, oh, this is so relaxing. This is so nice. And of course, there's other challenges that might come up, but that welcome and that shared understanding and that acceptance is hopefully there. I set up and co-ran, co-founded the first Pride in a rural community in Hay-on-Wye. And one of the things that I discovered through that was how isolated people can be in rural communities. And I think that can also happen in towns and cities as well. So that community, the importance of that for creative people is often we are working for ourselves. We're often founders or freelancers, and there is that isolation. Maybe we're working from home, or perhaps our week doesn't involve going to the same building every day. And so being able to get support, whether it's something fairly mundane like chasing an invoice and not getting paid, which a lot of people talk about, or actually having that cheerleading and excitement when you've got a launch, when you've got a new creative idea, I just think it's vital. And as we're now in the autumn going into the winter, we can sometimes lose that connection. And so that's one of the things that I'm wanting to talk with you about as well and your community. I've called my workshop Creative Hibernation, and it's what we're describing as a wintering workshop. And I got really inspired by there's a writer called Catherine May who wrote a book called Wintering, and I got recommended that by a healer that I was seeing, a shamanic healer. And this idea of wintering wasn't in my consciousness until I read this book. And the idea of kind of consciously and deliberately wintering as a human rather than trying to fight against all of the elements and all of the things that challenge us in those darker months just felt really needed and really beautiful for me. So The workshop's going to involve my coaching skills, that community that I was talking about that is so important, bringing people together. Maybe people who turn up to the session might know each other or they might not, and that's okay. We can introduce everyone. It'll be very spacious. We will discover what people need at this time in order to be their most creative selves and to have that connection, but also to be able to embrace that hibernation. So it's all about balance. It's always about balance with coaching. And also, I've got a very dear friend who we've worked together on a number of different projects over the years. And she's just recently, well, the last few years, she's qualified as a feng shui consultant. And she's so talented and wonderful. And she's going to come in and talk to us a little bit about our homes as well and about feng shui. And I'm really excited to hear from her. So I feel like it's going to be a gorgeous mixture of feelings and practical tips and conversation and connection. And it'll be very relaxed. I don't, you know me, I don't do PowerPoint. There's nothing wrong if you do choose to do that. That's great, but that's not me. I'm very much about listening, about conversation, bringing your lovely cup of tea or whatever beverage. It'll be a sober space. My events are always sober spaces, so non-alcoholic beverages, please. And really tuning into what you need. And I also encourage people to, doodle in the sessions. So bring pens, paper, all of that kind of thing. It'll be very relaxing.
That sounds amazing. And where can people find you online?
I I'm in this interesting branding transition at the moment. So my business is called Coaching by Helen. But my website is for creative people, FOR. Not there's not four of us, it's just me. For creative people. So I guess if you put either of those things, if you put Helen Jane Campbell or Coaching by Helen or for creative people, you can find my Instagram, you can find my podcast. And what else is there? Oh, there's loads of things. You'll find it. It'll be great. We will connect. I'm also on LinkedIn. That's the thing.